of Reform UK, Nigel Farage.
Good afternoon, Birmingham. Well, here we are. Reform UK meeting in Birmingham. There's joy, there's optimism, there's humour, there's great belief that we can turn this country around. And yes, there are fireworks, and we enjoy ourselves. But spare a thought. No, please. Spare a thought for Downing Street this afternoon, where the curtains are drawn and the political life of the most unpopular and most useless Prime Minister in living memory is drawing to a close. The Mandelson saga tells you all that you need to know. Its depth, the numbers of people it involves, the sheer level of corruption is probably the biggest political scandal we've seen for 100 years. And it's not as if the PM wasn't warned. Everyone knew that the bloke was a wrong 'un. So McSweeney, in the short term, has carried the can. As you might have heard when you arrived, the Scottish leader, Anna Sarwar, has called on him to go. The cabinet are coming out one by one being loyal, because none of them want to appear to be the person that wields the knife. And he has to meet the backbench Labour Party at 6 p.m. this evening, where I expect the conversation will be of a rather franker nature. He won't be there for long. He'll be gone and replaced by somebody undoubtedly far worse. Far worse. It took the Conservatives 14 years, 14 long years of disaster to get into the mess they did, and this mob have managed it within a space of 18 months. I suppose you've got to admire it, really. But either way, what we do know is there is now a very clear dividing line in British politics. Keir Starmer says the country is not broken. Kemi Badenoch says the country is not broken. And we say, and 74% of the public agree with us in opinion polls, we say Britain is broken and Britain needs reform. And it doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter where you look. Just look at our public services. The NHS, just as one example. It's literally impossible for the NHS to cope with the level of population explosion that has happened in this country over the course of the last 20 years. And I can scarcely believe that now we are offshoring the NHS, outsourcing the NHS. You could get a telephone Zoom consultation from a doctor on a beach in Malaysia. Don't ever let the Labour Party say that Reform want to privatise the NHS whilst they're outsourcing the NHS, whilst at the same time putting a cap on the number of students who qualify as doctors and nurses every year. Complete and utter madness. And of course, our borders are completely broken. And this, I think, in many ways represents the greatest breach of trust between the governors and the governed. You think of it, the 2010 manifesto from the Conservatives, the 2015 manifesto from the Conservatives, the 2017 manifesto from the Conservatives, promising to reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year. And then in 2019, a Boris majority, Brexit done, every reason to believe we'd get a grip. And then we got the Boris wave with net up to 1 million people coming in a single year, most of whom are not bringing the kind of skills and support that our country needs. And frankly, whether it's immigration or anything else, the Conservatives were a disaster. They broke Britain, and all that Starmer and Labour are doing is making the situation worse. And the same comes for illegal immigration. Just think about it. How could it be in our interests to allow nearly 200,000 undocumented young males into our country? And that is what has happened under both the Conservatives and Labour, and now more people have arrived by boat under Starmer than did under any other Prime Minister. Our borders are broken. Our economy is broken. No one dares admit it. The national debt increased 2.5 times in 14 years of Conservatives and is now absolutely, totally out of control under what I think, despite the CV, oh no, she's got a good CV, that Rachel Reeves. 10 years, a senior economist at the Bank of England. Do you know what? She is the most useless Prime Minister in our history and an embarrassment to us on the world stage. She clearly hasn't got a clue what she's doing. As our debt explodes, as our welfare bill goes through the roof, business confidence sinks. And I particularly want to mention small business. There are 5.6 million men and women out there engaged in their own enterprises who frankly feel persecuted by both of the last two governments. And we are the party that's on the side of alarm clock Britain. We're on the party on the side of people who want to get up, run their businesses, have a go, and believe you me, I think those self-employed and small businesses will vote Reform at the next election. Frankly, there is nobody else who even understands what they do, because almost no one in business has ever had a proper job, and that is going to change. We are deindustrializing at a rate of knots. Heavy manufacturing, heavy engineering, shipbuilding, cement making, chemicals, steel. You can go through the long list. It's all gone off to India and China. And then the very same goods are exported back here. And we're doing it in the name of net zero. We're doing it in the name of saving the planet, despite the fact the goods that are offshored are produced to lower environmental standards and then shipped all the way back. It's incredible. In 2010, we spent £6 billion importing energy from overseas. In 2024, we spent £36 billion importing energy from overseas. We are taxed at the highest level we've been since the war, and many, many people, not just the rich, but many bright, young, ambitious people are leaving our country in what is now approaching an exodus. Our economy is broken. And have a look at our politics. That is well and truly broken. Well, you can see how broken the Labour government is, but think of the 4 years of endless psychodrama the last Conservative government put us through. Too busy fighting each other to even consider standing up and fighting for the voters and the people of this country. We have a Prime Minister who is not a leader, and things are changing on both the centre-right and the centre-left. For all of our lifetimes, we've understood that there was a two-party system that led to government in Britain. And I can say today, for the first time, the two-party system we've known all of our lives is now over. It's gone. It's consigned to history. Reform has broken the mould of British politics, something Roy Jenkins tried to do 40 years ago and failed. We have broken the mould, and that's why we've led in the last 200 opinion polls. And I must tell you that I approach May the 7th and those elections in Scotland, in Wales, in all 32 London boroughs and thousands of seats up and down the country. I now approach May the 7th with a growing sense of optimism every single day. I really do. And so broken is our politics, they've even started cancelling elections. I thought only banana republics cancelled elections. Well, I will be in the High Court on the 19th and 20th of February when we fight the government at judicial review, not just for the elections this year, but to think that in the case of Norfolk, of Suffolk, of East and West Sussex, if this goes ahead, it will be the second year in a row that elections have been cancelled. We go into that court fight with every reason to think that we are going to upstage the establishment and that we are going to win and re-enfranchise 5 million people. Now, there is a number of people in those counties, particularly those for the second year in a row, have now started cancelling their direct debits and standing orders for their council tax. They're doing so on the basis of no taxation without representation. Now, of course, I could not possibly. None of us could we? Behave, Lee. We couldn't possibly support such action, but do you understand? I'm sure you'd feel the same way. We're going to do something about it. Now, if Sir Keir or whoever follows you, and if Kemi, if you don't believe Britain is broken, I tell you what, come here to Birmingham, because Birmingham is well and truly broken. The city is bust. Another volunteer to stand for the council elections. Thank you very much indeed, sir. The city is bust, and of course much of it caused by a piece of EU law written into the Equalities Act. As the rubbish piles up on the streets, it is said there are rats here today, the biggest that have been seen since the Western Front many years ago. And sectarian politics. Sectarian politics is now here, alive and well, in what we've always known as Britain's second city. People now voting purely on religious grounds. There's even a candidate standing in Birmingham who's a former convicted terrorist. But this is all thought apparently to be okay. And this, egged on and encouraged by a police force who, when they banned the travelling Israeli football fans, did so simply because they were Jewish. That is what Birmingham has sunk to. A deindustrialized city that used to be the workshop of the world. Slayed at the altar of net zero and the highest industrial energy prices in the world. Birmingham is broken. Birmingham needs reform. And I dare say on May the 7th, Birmingham is going to get reform. Now, unless you face up to the facts that Britain is broken, unless you're prepared to be honest enough to accept the depth of trouble that we're in, you can't begin to even contemplate what the actions needed to rectify it are. And that, I believe, is what gives us, above all, our biggest advantage over our competitors who've still got their heads very, very firmly tucked in the sand. They somehow think that you can fiddle with the boiler, replace a couple of spare parts and it'll all be okay. And we say no. We need a brand new boiler and not a heat pump. We need a completely brand new system. So Britain is broken. Britain does need reform, and reform will fix it. We've got the character, the attitude, the mindset, the optimism, the belief. Nothing will stop us from doing it. We will fix it, period. And we will stick to our fundamental principles. We will stick to the slogan that summarizes why we are and what we are. Our priorities are family, community, and country, and we care about those things, frankly, to the exclusion of all else. Because if we do, and we respect the Judeo-Christian principles which underpin the entirety of our civilization, if we understand those things, respect those things, then we can proceed with people in position and with policies that will all be based around one political theme. And that political theme is national interest. We will act in the national interest and of its people at every given opportunity, regardless of criticism. We will no longer kowtow to the European Union or unelected European commissioners. We will no longer even listen to illegitimate United Nations courts like the ICJ, who, with a judge from Russia and China, have persuaded our Prime Minister to give away, no, sorry, not to give away, to pay to hand over the strategically important Chagos Islands. We will not be listening to courts like that in the future, we'll be acting in our own national self-interest. And we won't do the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party in the shameful way that this Prime Minister, this government, and many of its officials do. Did you see after his visit to Beijing that today British citizen and democracy rights campaigner Jimmy Lai has been given a further 20 years in prison? Starmer doesn't negotiate. Starmer doesn't stand up for the interests of British people, of whom Jimmy Lai is one. He surrenders at every twist and turn. And we will end DEI in our public sector. Get rid of two-tier policing, of two-tier justice. We will, because we're firm, we're determined, we don't mind what abuse we're going to get. We will stop the rot. And we'll do it because the national interest demands that we do. Just as it demands that we abolish this insane net zero agenda, it's going to go under us. And we will. We will get the North Sea operating again. We'll get rid of the ludicrous taxation that Jeremy Hunt and the Conservatives put on and Rachel Reeves made worse. Whether you like it or not, we will be using oil and gas until at least 2050. So in that case, why not simply produce our own? It makes sense. It's in the national interest. And we will look to countries like South Korea, who were able to do nuclear energy with no concessions on safety for a quarter of the cost that it does our bungling idiots in government. We'll produce oil and gas, we'll build nuclear energy, because frankly, we're going to need it. Not just for existing manufacturing, what's left of it, but think of the 21st century technologies. And by the way, we're the only party really thinking about this. Think about AI. Think about data centers. Think about the world of crypto, which isn't going away. To be engaged in that, you need more energy than we've ever produced in our histories. We must and we have to be ready for that because it is in the national interest. And we will do everything in the national self-interest to try and produce as much food as we can in this country and not allow our farmers to be bought out by those biodiversity deserts of solar farms. Let's produce food and get rid of all the solar farms. Simple as. And while we're on security, Starmer's hideous 11-year surrender of much of our fishing to European countries has been a hammer blow to coastal communities all over this country, and we will take back what is rightfully ours, give our fishing industry a chance to live and thrive. It's all about putting our own people first. And in our national interest, we must stop extreme teaching unions poisoning the minds of our kids. We've got to stop this happening. We will ensure there is a patriotic, balanced, historical agenda that our children learn. And we will also recognise that not everybody is fit to go to university to do an ology. that actually in the modern world of AI, people with trades and skills are not going to get replaced by computers. So from the age of 16, boys and girls should at school be able to start learning trades and skills that will last them for their entire lives. But we have to start making money. The country is going bust. We're caught in a trap where there are many at work who would actually be better off on welfare. And we will have to cut the welfare budget. Not everybody will like it, but, you know, I'm sorry, but mild anxiety, yeah? I mean, after a heavy night out, I have mild anxiety. Well, less so than before. But you can't go on the sick because you've got mild anxiety. But it is an attitudinal change that Britain needs. An attitudinal change to hard work rather than work-life balance. An attitudinal change to the idea of working from home. People aren't more productive working at home. It's a load of nonsense. They're more productive being with other fellow human beings and working as part of a team. I want us to be the champions of have a go Britain. People setting up businesses, people having a go. They may succeed, they may not, but many will, and I'm pleased that Kevin Byrne, who was the founder of checkertrade.com, is going to be our mentor in helping us produce the right policies for millions more men and women to set up their own businesses and have the chance to make a big success of their lives. And I'm proud that we're going to do that. But the Whitehall class don't get it. The Westminster class don't get it. They don't understand hard work. They don't understand business, and we do. And the same goes for tax. Why would you want all the richest people who pay the most amounts of tax to leave the country? Because if you do that, it means the taxes that everybody else has to pay, who's at work, go up. It is the economics of jealousy. It is the economics of small-mindedness. It is the economics of stupidity. And I want to reverse the exodus. I want the rich to come back and pay taxes here. I want to stop young 30-something ambitious people leaving our country. And tax is part of it, but it's not all of it. One of the other reasons people are leaving London in such numbers is because of the near collapse of law and order. And it isn't just London, is it? It's the same in all of our cities. And the academic experts will tell you that crime is falling. Is it hell? Whether it's phone thefts or frauds or sexual assaults or whatever it is, crime is getting worse. And that's why I'm very, very pleased that after all these years of Sadiq Khan, of London becoming lawless, the beginning with our campaign on the 7th of May in the 32 boroughs, but heading on to the London mayoral elections in a couple of years' time, our candidate is going to be vigilante mum Layla Cunningham to bring back law and order to London. And yes, we will control our borders. We will act in the national interest in terms of defence, in terms of waking up to the fact that our defences were shredded in 14 years of Conservative government, and despite all of Labour's promises, it isn't actually happening. And if we have to cut the welfare budget to make our defences stronger in a dangerous world, well then that is exactly what we are going to have to do. We can't defend ourselves right now. We need to be able to. Now, 20 months ago, I took a very big and life-changing decision. Having retired from politics, once we got Brexit over the line, I decided that I would come back into politics, and I did so because I believed that at that moment in time, I was the best person to lead the fight back against the shredding of all of the values and all of the good things that this country had stood for. I can't be bought. I can't be bullied. I've stood for the same principles for many, many decades. I'm not doing this for my health. There are many other things in life I could be doing. But 18 months on, I believe even more strongly that I am the right person at this moment in time to lead this vital and historic movement. And I won't get everything right, but I will always lead with courage. If you can survive the snakes in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, you can survive pretty much anything. But of course, the criticism consistently has been, you're not ready for the election because you're a one-man band. Well, that is all changing, and it's changed rapidly. Whilst we've had in the existing team talent, hard work, ability, and life experience, what we've lacked is experience in number 10. What we've lacked is experience in government. What we've lacked is long-term experience in Parliament. And that is why Nadine Dorries, Jake Berry, Nadeem Zahawi, Danny Kruger, Andrew Rosendahl, Robert Jenrick and Suella Braverman are very welcome in our camp, and we're delighted to see many of you here today. And that complements enormously. That complements enormously what myself and David Bull, Zia Youssef, Richard Tice, Sarah Pochin, and of course, Lee Anderson have been doing already. Anyone from the outside can see we're now beginning to actually build a team of people. And I will also go on encouraging those from outside politics with expertise to join us. People like Colin Sutton, people like Vanessa Frake, and there are many, many more people out there who will answer the call because they realise just how much trouble our once great country is in. The May the 7th elections are crucial. They are our equivalent of the midterms. And I'm pleased that we've got the right leadership in Malcolm Offord in Scotland, Dan Thomas in Wales, and Layla Cunningham in London. We've got the right people. But I'm not going to wait until after May the 7th for the next phase, because things are moving rather quickly out there. I will, within the next few days, start to unveil the first people who will act as our spokesman and act as our shadow cabinet ministers. That is coming in just a few days' time and will represent yet more maturity for our party. And I'm looking forward to that, very, very much indeed. I said here in September that I thought the general election would happen in 2027. Well, of course, I was mocked and ridiculed. I'm always mocked and ridiculed. Well, I stand by that, but it could come more quickly. This whole thing could just unravel. Starmer goes, the party moves to the hard left, there's a further exodus of capital and people from the country, the bond markets lose confidence, I know Andy Burnham and the others say, we're not worried about the bond market. Well, you may not be worried about the bond market, but the bond market's worried about you. So as of 3 o'clock today, on our website, reformparty.uk, as of 3 o'clock today, I have opened the lists for people to apply to be general election candidates for this party. And I do today put this party on a general election war footing. We will make sure that when it comes, whenever it is, that we are ready in every way to fight and to win that election. And we're fighting because we believe that we want and need a proud, independent country that stands up on its own 2 feet, cherishes its past, but embraces its future. It's a place people want to come and live, a place people want to come and invest, a place where wealth and better living standards can be created. We have been totally failed by the two-party system, totally failed by career politicians. I am putting together a team of people who will do much, much better than that. And what I love about this party, about the events that we hold, is the optimism, the belief that we can do it. And you are our people's army. And without you, we can't do it. But I believe we can do it. Do you? Yeah. I believe we can do it. Do you? Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now, you're now all part of a very large press conference. So behave. First up is Catherine Forster from GB News. I'm not sure that every media channel will quite get that round of applause, but anyway, Catherine, please.
Thank you, Catherine Forster, GB News. Obviously, chaos in Downing Street, the Prime Minister's position very precarious. You've talked about the national interest. What do you think the Prime Minister should do in the national interest? Should he resign now or in the coming weeks? And when you said about something much worse could replace him, could you elaborate on that?
Yes. Look, if a Prime Minister loses credibility, can't command the House of Commons, can't command his own party, doesn't have respect internationally, then it's not in the national interest for him or her to stay. So I think that he should resign, and I think that he will, before very long, resign. I think Anna Sarwar is a very big marker. I mean, how can Labour now fight the Scottish elections if Starmer stays as Prime Minister? It's virtually impossible, isn't it? And the same, I think, will come for Wales very, very shortly. And there's supposed to be a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party at 6 o'clock tonight, which could be very entertaining. When I say much worse, they'll go further to the left. The centre of gravity of the Labour Party is being dragged leftwards. It's being dragged leftwards by sectarian votes and fear of losing to more Gaza independence. It's being dragged leftwards by the advent of Zach Polanski. Some pretty crazy ideas, but that's where it's going. So I suspect that the next leader of the Labour Party will have even worse policies on tax, will drive the exodus of talent from the country, and I think things are going to get worse before they get better. But you know, maybe the truth is, if Starmer goes, maybe what the public really deserve is a general election, and that is what we'll push for. OK, moving on. Any Price, BBC News. Honestly, I said behave. You haven't heard the question yet?
Actually, I didn't know I was getting one, Nigel, but... so you think the general election could be far sooner rather than later? You're talking about announcing your shadow cabinet in the coming days. Are you really ready?
Well, we're only really we've really only been properly in gear for the last 18, 20 months. What we've achieved in that short space of time is truly remarkable. But it's rather like building a company. The first 25% takes a long time, and then once you've got things moving, things slip into gear very quickly. I said a couple of weeks ago we were 50% prepared. I would argue within a month or 2 months, we will genuinely be ready. Certainly more ready than all of the others. And is it an enormous challenge? Yes. But we've managed to maintain a great sense of spirit, optimism, and team unity. We will be ready, and I'm not sure the general election will come voluntarily. I just think there is an outside possibility that over the summer months, there is some kind of economic market meltdown that brings an early election. So I'm still sticking with it's probably 27, but the chances of it being 26 have gone up considerably in the last 48 hours. Thank you. Sorry. Rob Mayer from BBC Midlands Today. Hello.
Hi, welcome again to the West Midlands. Rob Mayer, BBC Midlands Today. I mean, you had tremendous success in this part of the world at the local elections in May last year. Your key promises were to reduce waste and cut tax. So what do you say to voters who might be feeling let down in places like Staffordshire, Warwickshire, where council tax is going up, and in Worcestershire, where one of your councillors, David Taylor, actually resigned over the weekend over plans to raise council tax by nearly 10%?
Well, Worcestershire's a total basket case. You know that. I know that. It's on the edge of bankruptcy. We are not in majority control in Worcestershire, so I take that out of the equation. But if we want to talk about Staffordshire, we want to talk about Warwickshire, first point, never once did I say we'd cut council tax. Never once. Never once in the campaign did I say we'd do that, because I knew it would be impossible given how tough the finances were. What we said is we would find waste and save money. And across our councils, we've made about £300 million in savings thus far. Our council tax increases in the councils we control are lower than the council tax increases for the other parties in the rest of the country. So I would say to you, we're not off to a bad start. OK, Lewis Warner, ITV News Central.
Thank you. I'd like to ask, you said you're on a general election war footing. If the Prime Minister does resign in the coming days, would you call on that next Labour leader to call a general election? Are you ready for that? And if so, why should they? Because some of the MPs sitting opposite here didn't call a by-election when they defected.
No, they didn't. You're right. And of the last 200 and something MP defections, only 2 have ever occasioned by-elections. I just think legitimacy of Prime Ministers. We've had so many Prime Ministers now. Where is the legitimacy of a Prime Minister who's not been approved by the people? And I think the office of Prime Minister is being rapidly devalued. Yes, I accept it's the Conservative Party that did that. I mean, it was hard to keep up at times, wasn't it, how many there were? But no, I think there will be a big call in the country for a general election. They may well ignore it, and they probably will ignore it, as I said earlier, but do not underestimate financial events spiralling out of control if they go for a leader that is on the hard left of British economics. So I still think it may happen. I doubt they will offer it to us, sadly. Sophie Church, Daily Mail.
Thanks, Nigel. So if you are to succeed at the next general election, how will you host sensible, productive conversations with the civil service, given you've said you'll slash numbers, and in response, civil servants have said they'll revolt?
Well, we've had civil servants saying that they're suffering through emotional trauma at the prospects of a reform government. Well, that sounds like the first cost cuttings are going to be quite easy, doesn't it, really? I do not have direct experience of working with the civil service. Richard Tice and I have not been in that position before. But we've spoken to enough people who tell us there are many good people in the civil service who want to do their best. And what we have to do is find out who are the good ones and keep them. And with the advent of AI, I promise you, with the advent of AI, there are going to be a lot of job losses in the civil service anyway. What we cannot have is an obstructive civil service that willfully try to prevent the manifesto of a government being put through. And to a very large extent, that is what Danny Kruger has come into the party to do, to prepare us for government, to work out what executive powers we do have or don't have, and make sure we make the right choices. I mean, it's the same with the House of Lords. That's another potential obstruction to what we need to do. So I understand the question, we are thinking about it, and we are working on it. Geneviève from the Daily Telegraph.
Hi, Nigel. You say that you want to put experts from outside of politics onto your front bench, and you'll be announcing names within the next few days. But how would you do this if you were to get into power? Would you use the House of Lords and appoint them peerages in order to get them into those positions? And previously, you've said that you want to abolish the House of Lords. Is that still your position? Well,
the House of Lords as it currently exists is an absolute monstrosity. Absolute monstrosity. I mean, filled up with hundreds of Tony Blair's mates and David Cameron's mates, most of whom live within the same 2 postcodes in West London. I mean, it's a nonsense. No, radical change to the House of Lords. Look, if you appoint people from outside, you've got 2 options. If they're not in Parliament, one is, yes, the traditional route, you put them in the House of Lords. A better route, in my opinion, is to make the committees that meet in the House of Commons more powerful, to give them legal force, so that ministers can genuinely be held to account. And that, to me, would be a far better system. It really, really would. Sophie from the Daily Mirror.
Hi, thanks, Nigel. So last year, one of your new MPs, Robert Jenrick, complained about visiting Handsworth in Birmingham, where he said he didn't see another white face when he was speaking about integration. Do you think the best way to assess whether an area is integrated is by the number of white people in it? Thank you.
No, it's by, do people speak the same language? Do kids play together in the street? Is there a sense of commonality, and is there a sense of community? And I think there is a feeling in too many areas of excessive levels of immigration, regardless of geography, ethnicity. Actually, we finished up with desperately divided societies, and that's a fault of irresponsible immigration policies. Simple as that. Right, now, can I ask Richard and the other MPs to join me, please, now on the stage? Now, gather in quite tight. No one too near the edges. Come forward. Come in. Lee was hiding, I can't believe it. On behalf of all of us, massive thanks for you turning out on a Monday afternoon in such numbers. Massive thanks for your enthusiasm, your optimism, your energy. I know many of you are going to be engaged in these elections coming up. There's one coming up later on this month, a load more coming up on the 7th of May. And what you see before you is a growing parliamentary team, a team that now has more depth and breadth and experience than it had before, and a team that before long will be very much bigger. Thank you, everybody. It's all right.